If you're like me, you saw Ellen for the first time and you fell in love immediately. She's a shark girl, she's got the red nails, she's got the cool tail, she's got the dash, the red eye streak, she's got everything that you want. The question is, how do you play her? Let me provide some details. I'll break down her kit to make it as understandable as possible for you guys to use Ellen to the best of her abilities. If you're interested in how to play any other characters in ZZZ, I've made plenty of guides, so go check them out in the playlist in the description, and that should provide you all the info that you need. These are just quick translations of what these kits mean in actual English terms, because I know they can be a bit difficult. And for Ellen, let's jump into it. Ellen's basic attack is just a 3/, so you hit your basic 3 times, and you have the option on the third hit to hold it and it'll extend the attack. Now her dodge is where things get tricky. There's a lot of factors here that you may not understand immediately upon playing her. So let me try and break each of these down, because you're going to need to keep these in mind because they're integral to her playstyle. So first I'm going to go over the basic things that all the characters have. Ellen has them as well. And then we'll get into the more advanced stuff that you'll need to keep in mind. So first off, she has a basic dash attack. If you dodge anywhere on the field and then you press your basic attack, she'll do a physical dash forward and slash the enemy. She also has the standard dodge counter, so if you perfect dodge, you time the enemy's attack perfectly and then you hit the basic attack, she'll do an ice damage attack that's invulnerable. And now we get into the more interesting stuff. So first, she has an additional thing added on to her basic dodge. So most characters can just hit dodge and they'll get invulnerability. Ellen has that, but she also has a thing where if she gets a perfect dodge, she gets a effect called quick charge. And that basically means for the next 5 seconds her dash attack will come out quicker, and it'll be invulnerable. So if you hit a perfect dodge, then you immediately get a free dash attack to use on the enemy. Next, she has a special dash ability. So if you hold her dodge or you hit it twice, she'll enter a roaming shark state. This basically means she's going to be moving around quicker and there's certain actions you can do out of this. It also has some brief invulnerability, so you can use it to dodge enemy attacks as well. Now once you're in this roaming state, the thing you want to do out of it is hit basic attack. So if you just tap basic attack, you're going to do a slash in front of you, and then you're going to do a big scissor move in front of you. Now you can also hold it, and it'll do more damage but take more time to charge up to do the big scissor attack. But you probably want to do the hold one, because it gives you more buffs as well. It makes it so that your anti-interrupt is higher, so it's harder to knock you out of the attack, and it reduces the damage you take during the attack, and, importantly, it fills up a thing called Flash Freeze. So Ellen has a sort of hidden meter called Flash Freeze, and you can gain points through this attack. You get 1 if you do the tap after the roaming state, and you get 3 if you do the hold after the roaming state. And we'll talk about what these do in a minute. So Flash Freeze, this hidden gauge that Ellen has. Basically, once you have 3 of them, she can use basic attacks or dash attacks, and instead of doing physical damage, they'll do ice damage instead, and they'll do a lot more damage. So the most she can store is 6, so you want to make sure you're using these when you have them, so you want to mix in your dash attacks and your basic attacks every once in a while. And remember, to get these stacks, you need to use the roam into the basic attack or the hold basic attack, preferably the hold one. So you want to hold dodge, do your roam, then hold the basic attack to do the big strong scissor move, and that'll do a lot of ice damage, and it'll give you 3 flash freeze stacks. So then you can do a basic attack afterwards, and it'll do a lot of ice damage. So remember, this applies to both the basic attack and the dash attack. Those are the 2 things that it can empower from physical to ice damage. Ellen's special attack, the base one, is just a quick sweep in front of her that does ice damage. It has some anti-interrupt, so it's a bit harder to knock you out of it. The EX special, though, is different. It's got a bit more to it than the average EX special, so you're going to want to pay attention to this. So when she has enough energy to do her EX special, she's going to do a big move in front of her that's going to do ice damage, and is also going to be invulnerable. But then, if you press a direction and you have another charge worth of EX special energy left in your bar, So you need 2 charges to do this. 1 to do the base EX, and 2, if you press a direction after doing the EX, you will do another sweeping big AoE ice attack as well, and it's also invulnerable. But keep in mind, you need 2 charges in order to do this. So you can just do 1 if you only have enough energy for 1, but if you have 2 energy bars, you can do this added attack to her EX special. Compared to her other attacks, her chain attack and her ultimate are pretty similar. They just make her invulnerable and do a lot of ice damage. That's about all for each of them. Just use them when they're available and it'll increase her DPS. So, some passives to keep in mind when you're playing. And these kind of feed into her abilities that we've already mentioned. So the first one, after you've gone into the roaming mode, and you hold the dodge button, you go into the roam, and then you hold your basic attack and you get those 3 stacks of flash freeze, she immediately gets 20% extra crit damage, so she gets more damage on her basic attack. So after you do that sequence, you're going to want a basic attack. She's going to do extra damage after that point. So this kind of feeds into a loop. You want to go into your roam, then use the hold, then immediately basic attack, or maybe dash attack if it's a better option, and then restart the process. She also has a passive for the different agents you have in her party. If you have 2 ice agents, so her and 1 other, she'll get more ice damage, which is super useful, and she'll get extra ice damage on top of that if the enemy's stunned. So that's a super useful ability, just more damage to feed to her, and it's a pretty hefty bonus as well. So that's a good one to have on your team. She also gets a bonus for having 2 slash agents. Now this one is very important. Having 2 slash agents allows you to get flash freeze from your EX special. So now, instead of just getting it from the roam into hold or the roam into tap, you can do just an EX special and it'll give you 1 stack of flash freeze. So it gives you another way of stacking up the freeze to use on your basic attack. So I think if you're running Ellen in a team, you guaranteed want to have 2 slash agents, like no question. Because this feeds into her gameplay loop and is almost essential to her kit. She also has the standard parry, so if you parry, you want to E immediately afterwards, you'll get an invulnerable attack. This is standard for every character, and let's move on. So that's pretty much it for Ellen. You want to remember the loop, okay? So you hold dodge, you enter the roam state, then you hold to do the big snip move with her weapon, then you get the stacks of freeze, you want to do your 3 basic attacks because they'll be infused with ice damage, and then you repeat the process. One other thing to keep in mind is that when you press dodge and you perfectly dodge an enemy, is you get a free dash attack basically, and an invulnerable dash attack, it's something to keep in mind, it'll be quite useful occasionally. But keep in mind that main loop, that's the loop you want to be using when you're playing Ellen, and maybe deviate occasionally depending on the enemies and what you're dealing with, but that's the main thing you want to do. Obviously sprinkle in your EX specials, your chains, your ultimates when they're up, but when they're not up, then that is your loop. And that's it for Ellen. She has by far the most complex kit I've covered up to this point, so it makes me pretty excited to try and break this down for you guys. I'm super excited to play her, I hope I get her, she's one of my favorites in this game. So if you enjoyed this breakdown and you appreciate me putting in more simple terms from the jargon that they use in the game, then give me a like and subscribe, and take care guys.